Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my photography chat live stream where we come together as a community and talk about photography. And as always, I like the audience to drive the conversation. So if you have any questions about photography or any of the OM system or camera system gears and lenses, I'll do my best to answer those. Or if you want my opinion on something, I can do that as well. And also I like to catch up on what we've been up to, photographically speaking. and catch up on some of the things I did this week. So that said, it's good to see Henning is here, and hopefully you guys caught the live stream last night with Maddie Salanto. If not, you can watch it. It's up on my channel now, and we talked about street and travel photography. So he kind of gave us some guidance there and some tips and tricks, if you will. To take better street photography photos, and I learned a lot there, so hopefully you will too. As you know, Maddie, unfortunately he couldn't make it to the Micro Four Thirds stream, earlier in the year, so I definitely wanted to have him live on the channel as a guest, at some point, and we got that done yesterday. So good to see everyone, and looks like a pretty light day this morning. Not many people here yet, so I'll just go ahead and start, maybe share a few photos I took yesterday and talk about some couple other things that happened this week. Let's see. I'll just start with this one. This photo here, I may have shown this before, but this is the black and white version. And, we had some tall ships come into Alexandria. And I think this worked pretty well in black and white as well. Maybe I have the color here. Yeah. So here's a side by side of the color and the black and white version. I'm sorry, I had a brain freeze there for a second. And I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. If black and white looks better to you or the color. I kind of like them both, I guess. If I had to pick one, though, it'd probably be the color one still. But I did want to see how it looked. Because one of the things we talked about last night was, when you go out and do photography, street photography, do you prefer black and white or color? And what's your thought process on that? And he said generally when he goes out, he's very deliberate about black and white. So before he goes out the door, he's already decided he's going to shoot in black and white. Then he sets the camera to black and white, so his live view also shows the black and white images. And that's the way he shoots for that particular day. A lot of times, unless I'm using my monochrome camera, which is black and white only, I will think about it in post-processing. Typically, a scene like this, we have some mixed white balances. We have very, sort of warm magenta lighting coming from the sunrise, and then we have this very tungsten lighting coming from the street lamps. And sometimes it's hard to balance those to make them look, kind of matched or even, like the way our eyes would see it. And black and white really solves a lot of those problems. So I tend to only convert in black and white in post-processing when I'm having really white balance issues where there's mixed lighting, like in this scene here. But fortunately, I think the mixed lighting or the mixed white balances in this scene work as is in full color. So I would still lean towards the color version, but the black and white just has sort of a timeless classic kind of look to it, I think. And so there's that. Okay. And then let's see, these we saw last week. So I went to Meadowlark Gardens the other day and shot mostly with my 60 macro and a little bit with my fisheye and 12 to 45. But this is with the 60 macro lens, and I thought there was a nice contrast of colors here, or complementary colors of this sort of orange-yellow bug and these sort of a purplish magenta flowers with a little bit hint of red. And that also contrasts really nicely, or complements really nicely, the green foliage in the background. And it's just a single shot. I didn't do focus bracketing or anything like that. But it was just kind of an interesting little insect there. And the flowers are also very pretty, I thought. So I thought this came out pretty good. And then, of course, you can't do macro without taking a shot of a honeybee, right? And, this is, maybe it's a bumblebee. It's a bee of some kind. And this also came out well. I guess it's a single shot. And I think, yeah, I was at like 1/160th of a second. So I probably should have used a little faster shutter speed. Because it's not quite tack sharp like I would want. So there's a little tiny bit of motion blur, like micro motion blur, that's not giving me that tack sharp feeling that I would normally get from this lens. This is the OM3 with the 60mm macro. And I did use flash, I'm pretty sure, but only in a fill light kind of. Well, let me just double check. Was it flash? No, there was no flash on this. This was just a JPEG. I was using flash on some of the macros, but this is just an ambient light shot. And the only technique here, other than, hand holding and getting close with the 1-to-1 switch on the lens, is I just tried to make sure that the focal plane was even with the sensor on the bee's sort of side shot, right? It's a side shot. So a lot of the bee is in focus because of the focal plane. And then we have a nice, fall off into the depth of field. And so I was happy with how this shot came out. I just wish I'd used a little faster shutter speed or flash for that matter, because I had to crank my ISO up to 3200 to get this shot, so it was already getting dark. It was not quite twilight, but it was in the evening and in the shade. And then this shot here, I don't know. I tried to do something creative. It's okay. I was trying to get these white globs of light to sort of be more of the background behind the flower, but I didn't quite get it there. It was kind of this was a harder shot than it had to be, I thought. But I see a lot of sensor spots, so I'm gonna have to clean my sensor or the lens. I'm not sure which. I'm gonna have to check that, but I see a lot of sensor spots on this. But otherwise, not a terrible shot, but not what I was going for exactly. And I tried a few other variations to try to get the blob behind the flowers, but they didn't look very good. So I would say, what I envisioned versus my execution were pretty far apart, but this was the best out of the three. And then this was a nice shot. This one is, I believe this is straight out of camera. I used the soft focus art filter, and I got a really nice flaring or glare from the sun that kind of adds to the softness as well. And the only element in this shot that's really missing that I intentionally wanted to include is the little water fountain down here. It's kind of buried in the scene that it's not that noticeable, and I thought it was a nice accent to the image overall. And it didn't quite come out, so I would probably take this into my DxO and start editing this to make this a little more prominent, and everything else is pretty much fine the way it is. But for straight out of camera shot, not too bad. I like it. It's a nice balance between light and shadow, a nice balance between the subjects, the subject with the rest of the scene. And by that I mean, like, she's very well lit on the side here, and that contrasts nicely with the dark tree in front of her, as well as the foreground here. It's just this area here that I'm just a little bit I would definitely post-process this part here just a little bit to bring it out. Maybe push the highlights a bit more and a little bit of contrast down here. Okay, and then this shot here, just straightforward macro shot of some grasshopper. Single shot, didn't focus stack or bracket. And this, let me see, this was also an ambient light shot. I was able to get 1/400,000th of a second, 1/400th of a second, but I was still at like ISO 3200. But I definitely was able to freeze, so I didn't get any kind of micro motion blur, so that you can actually see the little lines in the eyes, and really good focus there. The camera did a good job nailing on the eye there, so I was really happy with how this came out. But I think if I took the time to focus stack this, it would have been nicer. But it was difficult because I had to reach my arm out a little bit to get to it, so I didn't really have good stability to focus stack on this guy. So there's that, and then I'll share a few more a little later. Oops. Okay. So let's see. I see Jeff came in. Good to see you, Jeff. And David Black, good morning. And Henning, you also like the black and white version. Yeah, I like that. And oh my goodness, thanks for the reminder. Happy Father's Day, everyone. I'm not a father myself, so it just, goes right by me. And my father passed away many years ago, so this holiday is just sort of out of sight, out of mind for me these days. So I apologize for that. But for those of you that are fathers, I really admire what you can do. And I always thought, I would have been a great dad, but it just wasn't in the cards for me in this lifetime. But maybe in my next lifetime, I'll have a lot of kids, So I'm very happy for all of you that are fathers and envious, and want to wish you the very best today. Hope you have a great day. And good morning, Roger. Good to see you. And Henning says, the yellow color casts are so distracting for me. I see why you enhanced that. But for me, the lights and the green tear me away from the main focus on the ship. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so that's right in line with what I was talking about on the mixed color white balances, when they don't always blend so well. And Henning is, a little bit more sensitive to that than I am, at least for these kind of, just casual shots that I take. These are not serious shots. I'm very, very conscientious of white balance when I do my paid work, because that is definitely a big no-no for me when I deliver images to my clients. I try to make sure the white balance is spot on, and no mixed white balance. Now I'll show you an example of that. Let me see if I can find, because I just finished editing this morning. I'm not done yet, but I'm about 90% there. I can show you an example of where this room had a lot of mixed white balance, and let me go in here, and I had to correct for it, because these rooms are typical. Did I fix this? Kind of. That's a good example. Let me find a different one. This one's pretty good. Oh, yeah, I still have a lot of work to do. Almost there. I'm just trying to find the best example here. This is not too bad. All right. So like if you look at this room, we have mixed white balance. We have this fluorescent lighting, which is looks like they used warm fluorescent lighting, but fluorescent lighting tends to cast a little bit of a green tint. And you can see that these walls are solid gray. It's a nice gray card for my white balance. But there's a little bit of a green tint here and here from the fluorescent lighting. And then there's this very tungsten lighting here, and then this lamp didn't work, so I couldn't turn that on. And then we have very strong white balance, standard sunlight white balance coming in this way. So I have really 3 different white balances going on. And it's really tricky. So if I were to do like a standard HDR shot, let me do that real quick. Just so you can see what it looks like. This is sort of the lazy way to do real estate or commercial photography is, and I see this all the time on a lot of agents' listings, is the photographer is lazy and just does a HDR shot and a little bit of straightening, and that's it. But so here's the HDR shot, and then I would just I would have to bring the exposure up a bit, but it doesn't solve the problem with the mixed white balance. We still have kind of a green cast over here. We have tungsten lighting, and then we have daylight coming in this way. So let me show you my shot that I edited. Let me see. This one is the one I'm going to deliver. This one here, it still needs a little work. I haven't finished editing this, but now I've balanced the white balance, right, across the scene. So we have one standard, like this is, let's see what it's at right now. It's at, oh, this is a TIFF, so I can't, let me just click auto. I need to reduce the exposure over here or raise it up here, but if I put that side by side with this image, you can see the difference, right, of what I typically see on agent websites versus, you pay a little more, you get what you pay for, you get a little bit better image. But now I don't have green cast over here. I have nice gray walls, and the tungsten lighting, I like to leave that in. What I'm going to do is I will probably just add just a simple radial mask here, like so, and then push the brightness up here, then just add a little bit of tungsten into there. So now it looks like it's turned on, right? And I usually do the same thing for the lighting in the ceiling. I'll just use a simple masking brush and just brush in here like this, and then make that light come on. Because sometimes when I go in, the lights are not on. Like some of the lights are burned out. And then I'll just add a little radial here and just pull the whites in a bit and the highlights, just to balance the exposure a bit, then add a little bit of clarity for the, just to bring a little contrast in. So now that's probably about 9. This is a little bit too bright, but you get the idea. And even if I went over to this HDR image and tried to pick a white balance, you can see if I pick over here, that's kind of a daylight balance. If I pick over here, this is, that didn't work. But you can see how the white balance changes quite dramatically depending where I select areas that should be white or gray. But I would say that's probably the best right there. And even when I try to correct the white balance on the HDR image, whoops. Oh crap, I accidentally adjusted both of these at the same time. Let me just... There. Didn't mean to do that. But you get the idea. All right. Let me go back to my screen. But I just want to kind of illustrate the difference. Like when I'm doing my normal just shots for myself, I'm not quite as critical with the white balance or mixed lighting as opposed to like my paid work where I'm very sensitive to that. And Henning is a little bit more sensitive to it in even that shot that was just of that tall ship. And David Black likes the black and white better. Okay. And Henning, I'm sorry, John, good to see you. And let's see. I mean, the yellow and green take too much attention away from the ship and the harbor in the background. For me, the foreground should not have any weight. Oh, okay. Okay. I could see that. I could desaturate a little bit in the foreground. It's not a great shot. The composition was just okay. Probably trying to get a little bit closer and minimizing the foreground would have been a better way to take that shot. And apart from the fact, the way in the street lights, that's giving some context, but should not have impact or weight. Yep, I agree. Stop me. Okay. And good morning, Adam. Good to see you. Thank you for sharing your images and your knowledge. Suggested your channel yet again for one of the Facebook group members for your DxO knowledge. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I pre-processed all of my like these real estate photos. This is actually a commercial office. It's not a house. It was an office. But I pre-processed everything with DxO Photolab for, the optics module, the sharpening, the denoising, all of that before I process. Because in Lightroom, I can do layering. And that's something I can't do in DxO yet. Hopefully they bring that out in the future. But that's really the only reason I keep Lightroom Photoshop is because of the layering capabilities. And to some extent, the AI removal tool. Because I like to get rid of sometimes there'll be like letters or envelopes on a desk. I'll just use AI to remove that. and Lightroom does a good job with that. The shot of the women in front of the lake with the art filter is amazing. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And Father's Day for animal parents. Oh, okay. I guess that counts, right? Ellie's my girl. And Adam says, got to put hands on the OM3 this week at B&H. Love how quiet the shutter is. I really wish we could get the functionality and sealing in an EM10 size body. Still want a smaller body in EVF. Well, that would be the OM5 Mark II, right? That's pretty compact, pretty much same size. But the OM5 doesn't have quite the capability of the OM3, right? It's not a top tier camera from OM Systems. And Zach says, ads were in the live chat experience. How about just having ads during the rebroadcast? Sure. I thought about that. I mean, during the live stream, the ads earn about $2-3, and then on the replay about another $2-3. So I'd lose half my revenue, but ultimately it's not that much, with or without. I tried to run completely without ads for a couple of months. And, it just, my revenue got more than half cut off. So I just decided to leave it on. And I appreciate everyone's patience that goes through those, but I earn so little, I don't want to make it next to nothing as it is. Especially after trying to use the EP7 in full daylight. Yeah, the EP7 is even smaller, right? Because it doesn't have the EVF hump. And ads go away. If you pay for YouTube, it's a game changer. You also get YouTube Music with subscription. Yes. Planning on adding a variable ND filters to my workflow. Is there a legit process to white balance out the color cast that comes with them in camera? Would you use a white balancer? Yes. You could just use a gray card up front or a white card. Just anything that should be a neutral color, right? Any shade of gray and white. Generally, I find a shade of gray is easier to white balance with. Yeah, I would do that before each shoot. So, and that really only works when you're shooting the same subject and the same lighting, right? Because the white balance can shift when you go into the shade, or you go back into the sun, or you go indoors where there's a lot of mixed lighting. So you'd have to do a white balance correction anytime the light changed. And if you want to do it in post-processing, you know, again, yeah, there's no way around it. The best solution really is just to spend a little more and get a true color variable ND filter. Then the white balance shift you can just kind of do by eye. There's always going to be some slight shift in white balance regardless of filter, just because of the way, you know, light bends through the filter itself. But if you get a true color variable ND, and they cost twice as much, but we're talking like a $10 filter versus maybe a $20 or $25 filter, right? It'll save you a lot of time in post-processing, or in the field, I should say. And Anthony asks, what is the most used lens that you use for interior shots when photographing for real estate? Oh, I use the Panasonic 7-14 f4. It's very small, lightweight, very sharp, and the only problem it has really is some purple blobbing. So I have to be very conscious of that when I'm shooting. Good morning, ATR. Good to see you, and good morning, the Great Vanzini. Good morning, Heather. And Anthony says, I'm keeping my fingers crossed when the next major update comes with DxO Photolab 10. I'm hoping that they will introduce stitching capability for the next major update. Yeah, some sort of panorama function would be nice, but even a very mature stitching program that you find like in Photoshop is still not as good as a free software I use called AutoPanagiga, APG. That still does a better job than Photoshop. So even if Photolab could come out with some kind of stitching, it'll probably work for 80–90% of the images, and that'll be great. But ultimately for multiple shot, you know, like you're taking anywhere from 9 to 16 or 24 shots for panorama or stitching, nothing really has beaten the APG or AutoPanagiga. So if you just Google AutoPanagiga, you'll be able to find a link to download it for free and use it. And Heather says, I don't work for free, neither do I expect Rob to work for free. Stop with the no ads chat. It's okay. I mean, I appreciate everyone's feedback, and I have to consider everything, right? And balance that with my own needs and wants. And it's okay. I don't mind. You know, it's a live stream. It's open, free to everyone to come in and join. I don't like to smack people down or discourage anyone from joining and participating in the stream unless they're just being flat out negative. That I don't appreciate. But that's extremely rare. I've only seen that a few times every year, and it's not a big deal. Most of us can just ignore those kind of chats anyway, whether you're watching or I'm streaming live. And just says, totally agree. Okay. And I love the Panasonic 7-14 lens for size and how wide it is for the price, but just could not fight past the purple blobbing. I just could not be intentional enough. Did it only blob on Olympus cameras? No, it blobbed on everything. people say that it's better on Panasonics, but I don't see how. Because back when I had the GX85, I still had the purple blobbing issue. But I've gotten to where I can work around it for the most part. Let me look at the images I took the other day. I don't think I ran into it except maybe in one shot where it was very minor. Yeah, I didn't run into it at all because I didn't have any strong points of light, and when I was outdoors I had the sun to my back, so again I did, you know, the really only time you get purple blobbing is when you have a very strong point of light, typically the sun, but it could be a street lamp, you know, or any kind of strong point of light can create that purple blobbing when it's in the frame. But I just did not run into it yesterday at all. Oh, I need to do that shot. I need to edit that. I haven't done editing this yet, but anyhow, it can be pretty bad if you like to shoot into the sun a lot or into strong points of light, like in street photography at night. The purple blobbing can be a problem. All right. Today I'm going to an air show. You know, shooting the Thunderbirds. You know, these are just fighter jets along with some other aircraft. And you know, what I found was for fighter jets, you know, they fly pretty low and pretty close. I have to shoot pretty much use the same settings I do for bird photography. So very fast shutter speeds, like 1/3200th of a second. And I just shoot wide open at f4. But the main thing is the shutter speed. You know, here in the US, we don't get too many opportunities to see an air show locally. This one's only about an hour away from me. And then I'm going to have one more in September, potentially. They only seem to do it every other year, though. But maybe one more in September, which is down the street from me. But, you know, I've seen air shows in other countries on YouTube, and those are amazing, you know, because they fly through the mountains and go through valleys, and it's just fantastic. Here in the US, you know, the air show is mostly about acrobatics. You know, the planes shooting straight up and crossing each other, flying, you know, in parallel, things like that. They do mostly acrobatic type flying, but the scenery is just the sky, the background. So they're not quite as photogenic as, say, you know, the air shows I've seen in other countries. And good morning, Marcia. Good to see you. And Adam says, I use Luminar Neo for stitching and AI fixes and some layer things. I've used it since Scott Bourne introduced it to me. It's a low price for what it does. Try first, buy with deals. Yep. A lot of people love Luminar. I just could never wrap my head around it. They sent me a license, and you know, the workflow just, I don't know why. I started to get a feel for it in the edit tab, but I just never was able to gel with it like I do with Photolab. And the great Van scene is, oh, I have to dig out my negatives from all my old air show. They're fun and a good challenge. Yep. Wow. I can't imagine shooting in film. Shooting an air show with film, that would be something. I have enough film cameras. I could do it. I got this new one. Somebody donated. My friend L. He gave me. I don't know, a dozen cameras the other day. This one, the Olympus 35 DC, I think, right? Yeah, this is the DC. You know, fun little camera, very compact. And the one I'm really excited about is, I think I put it up here. Yeah, this one. Maybe I'll take this with me today. This is the Minolta XD. It's the same as the XD11, but this one is the one that's sold in Japan. But it's the identical camera to the XD11, which it's known by more commonly here in the US. This is the Japanese one, and threw on the 50mm f1.7. Now, what's interesting about this camera, for those who are not familiar, is Minolta basically licensed this out, or maybe even they manufactured them for Leica. And I forget which model, but it's one of the Leica R DSLR I'm sorry, one of the Leica R SLR cameras. Might be the R4 or the R5, maybe the R6, I don't know which one. But the only difference between this and the Leica R SLRs is the mount. This, of course, uses the Minolta mount, M mount, I think. Not M mount, what do they call it? MD, the Minolta MD mount. And the Leica, of course, uses the Leica R mount. But other than that, the camera is identical. And also, Minolta made, actually manufactured lenses for Leica in this particular, in this era. And I have one of those as well. It's not a great lens, but this one. This is the 35, I'm sorry, 28 to 70, I believe. Yeah, the 28 to 70 was also made for the Leica R mount. And just an interesting note is, you notice how the rubber has a little bit of a white powder to it. It didn't look like that brand new, but that's a sign of quality rubber. When it starts to age and you get this powder, that means they used a good rubber on this. But this is a terrific lens. I haven't shot with it yet, but from what I've read, people really like this lens, and it looks like it has some kind of macro feature too. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm gonna have to try. Maybe I'll take this this lens and the camera out to the air show. I just don't feel like lugging two cameras at an air show because I'm going to be there a while. I don't want to be holding two cameras for 4 or 5 hours. I have to give that some thought. But yeah, this is pretty exciting. And then another thing that happened is the photo shoot that I just showed you. The client was there, the broker, and he says, "Hey Rob, do you want some old, you know, do you want some photographic gear and stuff?" Some photographer abandoned his building, you know, skipped out on the lease, and left a lot of stuff there. I was like, oh, okay, I'll go. So I went up there, and he just gave me all this stuff, and I filled my car from the trunk all the way up to the passenger seat, full of stuff. Now, I would probably say 90% of it was junk, right? But, and I have to sort through it. It's still, I moved everything into my truck. But man, there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of books, some interesting books. One with Annie Leibovitz photography, some other photo books, and then a lot of books. There was one called the Encyclopedia of Photography, and it was like this frickin' thick. There's one of those, and like I said, photo books. I brought one of the photo books in. This is a PPA showcase. I guess these are PPA members, the Professional Photographer Association, and photos around Washington, D.C. because, you know, I live near D.C., so I wanted to kind of get a feel for the kind of images that they took. Actually, there's not a lot of stuff in here with DC. But we'll take a look through this. You know, hopefully find some inspiration, maybe learn some techniques, or try to copy the technique that they use to take these photos. Well, there's a nice glamour shot. So I'm excited about that. So I got these books, and then and also there was where did I put it? There was a camera in there. There was a little camera. Where did I put it? I charged the battery up and it worked. It was just a little pocket, a Nikon P5000. Oh, no, that's not it. It was right here. I didn't put it up on the shelf yet. How can it just vanish? There's a lot of stuff that I was looking at is not here now. Heck, man. Where'd it go? Anyways, a little compact point and shoot from 2007, the Nikon P5000. And has a 10 megapixel CCD sensor, but it doesn't shoot RAW, unfortunately. So, which was typical back then. And I took a picture of Ellie with it, and that's about it so far, because I just charged the battery this morning, but it should be right here. I don't get that. And then there was a bunch of these things around, like light stands and diffusers, and a lot of old Nikon stuff that I don't think I'll ever use, like this thing. A couple of things here. This has the old plug on it, but it's a remote cable release for one of the Nikons, one of their DSLRs that uses this plug. I forget what it's called. And then this was an interesting find. Somebody leave in the chat section if they know what this is. I know what it is. There's some connections here on the front or on the top, nothing on the back. I'll get in nice and close. You might be able to guess what this is. Never used, just sitting here. This guy had a lot of stuff never used, still in the box. And I got a few nice boxes of 13x9 photo paper for Epson. So I'm gonna have to calibrate maybe a little bit to work on my Canon printer. And I got a light meter. Where did that go? I don't understand. Oh, I put it out. Got a nice old f2 light meter. Works really well. I got 2 of those. And then toaster oven, brand new, never used. What else was? Just lots of little trinkets too, like a Fidel Castro bobblehead. What the heck is that, right? But interesting story though is this explains why this particular client, I've talked about him in the past. I didn't get any photo jobs from him for like 2 years. And now I understand why, because the photographer that bailed on him out of one of the offices was doing the photos for him. Maybe for free, right? And he was he was trying to be a real estate photographer and do that, you know, as a side hustle, maybe as a full-time thing. But you know, he retired. He was retired, but he wanted to start doing photography, and he had all the gear. I mean, I can tell from the parts left over that he did a lot of different things. Um, Mostly studio work, which, you know, commercial real estate photography is kind of like a studio shoot, right? Uh, but yeah, apparently he was doing the photos for him for the last couple of years, and it shows, right? Because it's not up to the level he did sort of the basic HDR type shots, and his compositions were just your standard, you know, four corner shots. So it wasn't you know, he was basically, he was competent but not good, if that makes any sense, right? Like he could take a competent image of the space, but the lighting and the composition were uh, not great, right? Just fine. They were fine. And in commercial, particularly in commercial real estate, residential is a little different. But in commercial real estate, uh, ironically, white balance and color is not as critical, even though I'm very sensitive to that when I deliver the images. And even really, all that matters to a potential buyer of a commercial property is a floor plan and how many square feet and the location. The space itself, they don't really care about what it looks like, because they're going to just gut the place and refit it to their own needs. Usually, you know, with some very small exceptions, like a dentist's office, which has a lot of gear, you know, a lot of hardware and equipment that dentists use, and optometrists. Those kind of spaces, the client will care, the buyer will care about the equipment that's already there because they're going to be using it, and some labs, right? But generally speaking, like general office stuff, like accounting office, attorneys, you know, even GP offices, they don't care what it looks like. The only reason they hire me, the client hires me, the broker, is he wants to be able to present a professional image saying, you know, I'm going to do professional marketing of the property. I have a professional photographer to come in and take, you know, great shots of your property. You know, and then I have a great network of buyers already, investors. You know, they try to present the most professional package they can to get the listing for the commercial property. And that's where my role sits in. And I still deliver the best I can, but I know that for probably 80% of the properties that I take pictures of, the buyer doesn't really care about all of the things I try to present in my images. The only thing I have to be very conscious of that a buyer might care about beyond the floor plan is, you know, the condition of the utilities, like, you know, the HVAC system, you know, there's vending machines, or what do you call those, water fountains, things like that. You know, some of the hardware that might be in the office. Anyway, I hope I'm not boring you guys talking about my work, but anyhow, let's see. DxO mosaicing engine is far superior to Luminar's. I would not doubt that. It does an amazing job, because when Luminar does the demosaicing and denoising, it does that at the same time. A lot of denoising software, they demosaic the image and then they try to do the noise reduction, right? And that's why some noise reduction software can work on a JPEG. A JPEG's already demosaic and processed raw, and then you can apply noise reduction. But DxO's Photolab demosaics and denoises at the same time. So it looks at every single pixel for noise and whatever their algorithm is, or AI, to reduce the noise. And that's why I think it does the best job over, say, a lot of other noise reduction algorithms. because very few. Well, I just know DxO does it. Maybe others do it that way as well, but I know DxO does that. There's another software I've been experimenting with that can denoise JPEGs using AI, and it does an amazing job, actually. I just don't know if I want to promote it. Not because I think it can compete with DxO. It really cannot. DxO is still far superior on raw images, but DxO does not denoise JPEGs as well as this other software. I can't remember the name of it. I think I have the thingamajig on my desktop. Let me see. You know, the icon. AI, it just says AI image enhancer. There's no name. Anyhow, Heather says, on my way to watershed area where a pair of minks were spotted, that I see them and get some shots. Yeah, good luck. And Marcia says, the air show at Patuxent, it's at Patuxent, Patuxent Naval Base. And ATR Bear says, still use a Minolta 7 and Minolta 9 Xi with predictive AF and stepless shutter to 112. Wow. Yeah, the Minolta 9 is really nice. I don't remember the Minolta 7. I have a Minolta 4, which is just a little plastic thing, but that has autofocus and all the latest, you know, that technically it's a very advanced film camera. Mechanically and build quality, it's very cheap. It's budget, you know, but the technical side is pretty advanced. Anthony says, if OM system were only to bump the resolution extra 4 megapixel more over the 20 with the new image processor with the current OM system users space, satisfied or disappointed? Well, there's no downside to that, so they should be happy, right? If they can add 4 megapixels, use a new image processor to produce a cleaner raw image potentially. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it, but first you have to find the 24 megapixel micro four thirds sensor. That is, because you've also mentioned that you want it to be partially stacked or fully stacked, which, as far as I know, doesn't exist. Because OM System is buying their sensors off the shelf from Sony. There are other fabricators out there, but you know, I think Sony's pretty much the only one most people buy their sensors from. And good morning, Dan. And universal remote for DSLRs. That's close. That's close. So let me show it again. That's very, very close. So what it is exactly, this is a universal remote for DSLRs. But it has intervalometer functions, bracketing functions, and something else. Yeah, focus bracketing, time lapse, which is basically the intervalometer. And then I guess you can adapt. I haven't looked into it that much, but I guess you have different plugs for different cameras, so it's universal in that sense. Time lapse active, no. Okay. So focus bracketing, intervalometer with time lapse. And it plugs into the camera's USB port. Anyway, I don't know much about this thing, but I just did a quick lookup on it, and I said, oh, that's kind of neat. Don't really need it because the cameras today have all these functions built in, right? Okay. Good guess. Good guess, though. And greetings, Robin, everyone. Hope you're all well. Good to see you, Barry. I'm doing well. Feeling a little off, though, today, but doing well otherwise. It'll pass. Um, but yeah, I'm going to go out to the Patuxent Naval, I think it's Naval, yeah, Air Show. And, you know, it's been going on for 3 days. Friday, I think, was for, you know, military only. Uh, and then Saturday and Sunday were open to the public. So I'm going today. Hopefully it'll be less crowded because Saturday is usually packed. So I'm going today, but I'm going later, like at 1 o'clock, rather than first thing in the morning because I live stream, but not because, you know, because I can always not do a live stream, but I didn't want to go that early in the morning to, because the Thunderbirds don't fly until the very end. They're sort of the last show, like at 3:30. I didn't really want to spend 6 or 8 hours there, you know. Okay. Yeah, it works with most cameras. That's the impression I get, that it works with most cameras. I don't know, though, to be honest. So I don't know. This will probably go on eBay. I don't know what good it is without the cables. You'd have to buy those separately. I don't even know if you can still get those. Or I'll just give it away to somebody that knows what to do with it. That's probably what I'll do. I'll just give it away. I wish you guys all lived like next door to me. I could just give it to you. A lot of stuff in my car right now I would just give away. And half the stuff in my room here I would just give away. It's just too much, you know. Over time you just build up all this gear. At least I do. I got probably too many backpacks, 5 too many shoulder bags. Ugh, it's terrible. And probably a dozen more cameras than I need. I mean, my L10, I pre-ordered a Lumix L10, and it's, for whatever reason, it still hasn't shipped yet. So I'm still waiting for that to come in. But that's another camera I don't really need. You know, my OM3 or just any, pick a camera will do everything that camera does. But I don't know, I'm still excited to get it. So when it comes in, I'll be sure to share that with everybody. Because I think it's a terrific camera. And I don't understand the hate that I see in the community sometimes. You know, I don't think it's the majority of people, but there's enough people out there, you know, that are basically legacy Micro Four Third users in OM Systems and Panasonic that say this is not what we wanted. You know, it's too big. It's, you know, whatever. The lens is stupid. Things like that. But I think it's terrific. Because I'm very familiar with the lens combination and the features, because I have the Deluxe 8. But the L10 adds, you know, 4 more megapixels, but it also adds, you know, the articulating screen and phase detect autofocus with subject detect. And, you know, so it's basically the latest and greatest. It doesn't solve any particular photographic problem for me other than the articulating screen when I want to take out a compact camera. So we'll see. We'll see when it gets here. Maybe I'll sell it after a while, or sell my LX100. I have an LX100 Mark II and a Deluxe 8. And if I like the L10, I'll probably sell the LX100. Wish I lived next door. We'd have some great visits. When do you get your L10? I don't know. Hopefully next week. We'll see. I really don't know when it's supposed to come. I know B&H seems to be shipping them now. But I ordered from Allen's Camera because they're a little bit closer. They're in Pennsylvania, so I would get it overnight as soon as it was ready to ship. but I haven't gotten any notification that they've even shipped it yet. So in the end, I probably would have got it faster from P&H if I ordered from there, but I thought I'd get it faster if I ordered, because Pennsylvania is overnight for me. If they ship from Pennsylvania, I'll get it the next day, even with ground free shipping. Whereas from New York, it can take 2 to 3 days, typically. But anyhow, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, if it doesn't come out, you know, I got my OM3 and multiple other cameras I can use. The OM3 does it. It's really, the OM3 is the only camera I really like taking out on a regular basis. So that said, if you guys have any more questions, you can leave them in the chat while I show you a few more images that I took this week. Hard drive needs to spin up. Okay. So this is another 60 millimeter macro shot, but this one is actually focus stacked. I didn't have very good settings because the depth of field's not, it doesn't look like a stacked image. It looks like a single image, but yeah, this is a stacked image. But I like how the sun kind of was creating this glow, you know, down inside. So I thought that was kind of a nice effect, or nice lighting for this flower, because normally the sun's on top, right? But it was, like I said, since it was kind of twilight, not twilight, but it was almost sunset, the sun was low and hitting the flower underneath it and creating this glow inside. Let's see, and then this is heavily cropped. This is 1.5 megapixels, but and the light wasn't great. What am I at? 1/3200th of a second, ISO 6400. It came out okay. These are a couple of house finches, and I just thought it is a nice pair. Now, what's different about this image is this is actually, I stacked 2 images in Photoshop because the focus was on this bird, and this bird was slightly out of focus. As you can see, it's probably about 4 inches behind this bird in the focal plane, and that 4 inches was out of, you know, was out of focus. So I had taken 2 images where this guy was in focus and then this guy was in focus. Then I layered them, and came out okay. So that they were both in focus. This was a deer, probably maybe only about 10 feet away or 3 meters from me. And I had my 300 millimeter with teleconverter on, so I couldn't fit the deer in the frame. I backed up, you know, a little bit, but I didn't want to back up too far because the deer was, you know, on his way out. So if I took time to move out, then I wouldn't have got this shot. But this is a pretty good shot. Lots of nice detail, and just a little young deer, male, because he's got the horns, right? And there were 2 of them there. And also I used a flash, just my little IT32, to add some fill light, because he was very dark. You know, if I tried to expose the scene without flash, the background here would have been overexposed. So the flash came in handy. And then let's see, one last one I have here is just a what's this? This is a swallow of some kind. I don't know what. I think this is a swallow. Just taken off from the ground. Nothing special. And it's, excuse me, it's also heavily cropped. This is 1 megapixel, this image, 1.19 megapixels total. I just couldn't get close enough to him. So that's why there's not a lot of detail here. But, you know, it's good practice. I like taking pictures of swallows if I can get close enough to them and get a decent shot. I've gotten decent shots of swallows in the past. You know, like this one. No, well, not that one. This one's pretty good. This one's 2.35 megapixels. I probably have shown these in the past. This one's pretty decent. This one, this is 1 megapixel. Man, it's hard. I know I've gotten better shots. Maybe this one? No, that's terrible. This is with the EM5 Mark II. I'm sorry, EM5 Mark III, actually, in the 75 to 300. But yeah, this one. I like this one. We got two of them in one shot. These are barn swallows. But anyhow, I probably showed those before, so we'll just go past those. And Anthony says, for the new Mark III flagship, I think the most important thing will be an all-new TruePic 11 or 12. Hopefully the new processor will be a lot more powerful and a lot more capabilities. Yeah, I hope so. Because they've been leaning on that. I think it's the TruePic 10 it's been 5 years now, right? So I think it's time for an update on the processor at the very least. I'd like to see a new processor. Because I do feel the camera, although it's very responsive for normal photography, it does feel sluggish when I'm using the computational features, right? So a faster processor would be nice, more RAM, so it can handle all of that processing, and hopefully autofocus. I think if they have a new processor and improve the autofocus with the, which would go along with the new processor, I would upgrade to the Mark III. I did not upgrade to the Mark II because it was the same processor and sensor. All they did was really add a little bit of RAM, right? So that the autofocus worked better. But, and buffering. The buffering would have been nice, but I didn't want to upgrade and spend $2,000, to upgrade just for a deeper buffer, which is effectively, I think, all you gain with the Mark II. But a Mark III with a new processor, which would imply better autofocusing, because it can process, the images faster, and more responsive computational features. That would be enough for me. I don't need 24 megapixels. If they do that, fine. But I don't, honestly, I don't see us moving away from 20 megapixels for a while. I don't think the Mark III is going to get 24. The Mark IV might, but I think we're going to be stuck with 20 megapixels for a while. And by stuck with it, I don't mean it in a negative way. I just mean that's their sensor. That's the sensor pixel density of choice, right? 20 megapixels is just right for the Micro Four Thirds sensor. It's kind of the sweet spot, I guess. Because going up a little bit more, you introduce a little bit more noise. Going down, you don't get enough resolution. So 20 seems to be a good sweet spot. Okay. Let me find. Why did I pull up Photolab? I wanted to show you something out of here. I think it had to do with. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you the layering that I did. So if I open this in Photoshop, show in Windows Explorer. Here it is. Open with Photoshop. Okay, so here's the original image, right, before I processed it. And there's the two little birds, but you know, the way I did this, let me just reset this. I'll get rid of this masking. So if you look at this image, oh, why is it still masked? Let me delete. Yeah, there we go. Because you guys might want to do this if you have Photoshop. But you can see here, in this image, this bird is kind of in focus, but this bird is definitely not in focus. But in this image, it reverses. This bird is in focus, and this bird is not. So what you do is you select these two, you do Edit, Auto Align, and I just select Auto. I ignore all the other settings. And it auto aligns them. And then this image here, oops. And then what I do is just blend them like a focus stack. So you do auto blend layers, stack images, seamless tone and colors, and click OK. Now I've done this technique on like a dozen images at a time to see if I could reduce the noise or improve the, not reduce the noise, but improve the focus on a subject. Because a lot of times when you're like at 50 frames per second, for a bird on a stick, you're like at 50 frames per second, and in continuous autofocus, the autofocusing may, drift a little bit forward and backwards in that, during that 50 frame per second burst. So I've taken like 10 or 20 images, put them together here in Photoshop and blended them just like I did here. And I did get a tiny bit more detail. It was so subtle though that I was like, it's not worth the effort. But if you really want to take the time and get just a little bit better image, you could put in 10 times the effort to get that. I think I have it on my Flickr page. If I go there, what would I search for? Stacked. Maybe in here. Yeah, this is one. So I was shooting 50 frames per second, and the bird wasn't moving. And you can see the image on the left is just slightly less detailed than the image on the right. Because the image on the left is a single image, the image on the right is 10 shots from a sequence at 50 frames per second stacked together using focus stacking. And ultimately, yeah, there's a little bit more detail in this shot. Man, it was a lot of work, right? And it just doesn't look all that much better in the end. So I don't I don't plan shooting that way intentionally going forward, you know. I might try it here and there, but I thought maybe I was onto something that would dramatically improve the images, the sharpness of the images. Because it's a very similar technique that we use in astrophotography, right? Stacking the light frames. But just didn't pan out. The results did not justify the means, so to speak, right? It was just so much work, and it ultimately wasn't that much better. Could they add a polarizer in camera in the new model similar to ND filters? Probably not. You know, because polarizers have to be rotated, right? So putting it in camera would add sort of a level of complexity that's unnecessary, I think, right? Because it's easy enough to put a filter on the front of a lens. And polarizers are also, they would have to probably redesign the micro lenses on the sensor itself to have the polarizer not dramatically impact the image quality, right? Because every pixel has a little micro lens that takes light in from all directions and tries to focus it directly onto the pixel that it's on top of. And micro four third lenses are designed to try to send the wavelength of light as perpendicular to the sensor as possible, so when it hits the lens, it's not coming into the side of the lens or a corner of the lens. It's coming in straight on where it has the least amount of distortion, right? And at the pixel level, we're not worried about distortion and sharpness, right? Because we're talking about one pixel. But to get the most accurate, the most consistent light reading, you want it to come in from the front. And a polarizer sort of shifts, right? It only lets light come in through in one direction. And that would be a problem to put a polarizer in when you have a lens sending the light in one direction, then the polarizer putting it into another direction. So they have to redesign the sensor to work with it. And then they'd have to come up with a mechanism to rotate the polarizer to change the direction of light that's coming in. So yeah, it's way too complicated, I think. And I'm just thinking off top of my head, right? I'm just spitballing here. I'm not a lens engineer, but I do understand how polarizers work, more or less. And I don't see that working in camera. ND filters are different. ND filters are, just solid ND filters. So it just reduces light by a certain number. It's not bending the light. It's not, trying to polarize the light, right? It's just reducing the light. Okay, so it's pretty quiet this morning. Not a lot of questions. So I'm gonna just call it here and wish everybody. I think probably everybody's celebrating Happy Father's Day, right? So let me wish everyone a Happy Father's Day. And thanks so much for joining me today. Hopefully you found this helpful, productive, and I was able to answer your questions and have fun, right? I want everyone to have a good day. I wish you the very best. Try to do that every day. You'll have a good life. So eat healthy and exercise. And because I want you guys to be with